Brooke Smith has a recurring role on Big Sky as Marilee Legarsky, the wife of a cop who has a dangerous dark side. I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby here with Brooke, and let's just start with this. You didn't originally have much of a presence on the show, but then you got more and more material as the season went on. Were you prepared for Marilee to have as much of a presence as she ultimately would have?
Was I prepared? I guess I was. I don't know. I think I was. I was excited, that's for sure. I like you said, I wasn't expecting as much as it ended up being. So thank you, David Kelley. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you do have an extensive career working in TV and film, but I believe this is your first time working with David E. Kelley at the helm. I could be wrong, but I'm curious what your feelings were on him as a writer and also now having this experience, what he's like to work with.
Um, I think it's really fun when you have no idea what's going to happen. I say this now. Maybe when I was younger, I was a little more freaked out, but I actually really enjoy it, especially when you have someone like David E. Kelley at the helm. Um, there's something about his writing, it's very hard to explain, but where there's enough space in it so that you can bring what you want to bring to it while still honoring what I believe he had in mind. So that's pretty cool. And there was also this thing, there are often times when I'm working where I feel like, I don't know, like I have to come up with something, to make the words work. Whereas here it was like, at the end of the day, if you just say the words, you're going to be fine, like truly.
Hmm.
So there's something really interesting about that I found. I don't always find that. So yeah.
Cool. Well, in the beginning, we are introduced to Marilee, and she's pretty frustrated in her marriage. She's lonely, and she's reached this point where she's not really afraid anymore to express her frustrations. Um, so, how were you able to find your way into inhabiting this character in the beginning?
It's interesting because we were also one of the first shows to go back to shooting, with
Hmm.
a global pandemic, which I don't remember experiencing in my lifetime. So we were in these weird little isolated bubbles, I actually drove up to Canada and was like living by myself and then would come to work. Anyway, all of this just to say that I felt that there was a parallel in that Marilee, she just wants connection, she wants her husband to be able to look her in the eye, and she knows something's up, and she's a very instinctual person. So yeah, I mean, she believes in love and she wants connection. So what's wrong with that?
I know, right? Well, you're also working alongside another kind of journeyman actor here with John Carroll Lynch as your husband. Can you describe what he is like to work with and bounce off of as a scene partner?
He's the best. He's so great. He's really present. He's really there. Sometimes actors make choices and they just want to stick to those choices no matter what. Um, but John would definitely stay in the moment with me, and he would be right there, so that we'd be open to other things happening. There was a lot of trust. So yeah, I love John. Love working with John and Brian Garrity, um,
Hmm.
my other man on the show. I know, hell of a taste in men she has.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you go with what you've got.
I suppose.
Love the one you're with. I don't know. Yeah.
Even if they're two of the worst people you could come across.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we could talk about that too. She does develop a relationship with Ronald, who, unbeknownst to her, is her husband's partner in crime. There's the scene where Ronald is in Marilee's shop and he's giving off some pretty big red flags, I would say, but she is ultimately very receptive to him and agrees to go out dancing. Maybe you already answered this in a way, but what do you think is truly motivating her in that moment to just go with the flow anyway?
I maybe I have answered it. I guess it is the connection thing. I feel like
Mm,
she felt like someone was really paying attention to her, you know?
yeah.
And so it was funny because now that you said that, I was remembering that when we first started shooting that scene, I thought, how does she not see these red flags? You know? And then I just decided that that was her rose-colored glasses, you know, that she was getting enough that she was just gonna not pay attention to those little things. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Well, there's also a scene, I think it's in episode 6 or so, where Marilee is in the hospital room and
Mhm.
Jenny confronts her about the fact that Marilee's husband shot her husband. And Marilee just runs through all these different things you can say in response to that. But then she just lands on something I found very interesting, which is she just says, it's just not a good time. And
Mhm.
she's really breaking down in that moment. I was curious if you could speak to what you think she means by it not being a good time, and just if that scene was tough to crack for you.
Oh, well, when I first read it, I thought, well, this is the difference when you're working with David E. Kelley, because who
Hmm.
would write this scene? You know, how fantastic. Um, oy. Uh, what were you asking me? What's the exact question here? Just that thing
Just
of
why
this
she
not being a good
why she
time.
lands on that, yeah, more than anything.
Yeah. Um, I think it's genuinely because she just can't process all of it. You know, it's just not a good time, literally. You know, she's trying to come to terms with the fact that her husband's a monster. And then, you know, to have this poor woman, her husband was murdered by my husband, show up like that and get all in my face is really it's just not a there's just never a good time. I mean, maybe that would have been more accurate to say. There will never be a good time for this, but I just love those kinds of things. Those are the kinds of lines you get with David E. Kelley that I just love. I don't know. You could really just say that line and it would work, you know? Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
feels genuine, I think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we can talk about a bit of spoilers here for about the halfway point in the season. So if you're not caught up through episode 9, go watch it now and come back. It's a good binge.
Yeah.
So Marilee is going through a lot and her mind is racing and she's remembering her past with Rick, and she is able to really identify that he wanted to kill her with a hammer. And she turns the tables on him, you could say. Um,
Yeah.
that is another very pivotal scene where I don't think it's clear right away what she's going to do, but that
Mhm.
tension just builds and builds and builds, and then that moment happens, and it makes sense in a way. Can you talk about
Mhm.
crafting that scene, maybe in your performance, and why you think she ultimately does what she does?
Yeah, it was I was really a little neurotic about that scene because I read it right before the holiday break, and then sort of my family drove up and I saw them, and I felt like I was very preoccupied during the holidays because I knew that scene was coming right after the holidays. Um yeah, there were a lot of questions I had about it. Because first of all, she goes to the hospital with the hammer in her bag.
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to get around that, you know. It's not like but I decided that maybe she still didn't know exactly what she was going to do, and that's how I played it. Honestly, I just thought she was going to go in there and she was just going to give him opportunities to come clean and be honest, and he just didn't do that. And then for him to say the menopause thing there was really quite triggering, I found. So I just decided that she wasn't really going to think about it too much. She was just going to sort of be this instinctual person and go with what was happening. And then that's what happened. So yikes. Yeah.
Indeed. It's
Yes,
quite a
indeed.
memorable a memorable conclusion, I would say, to that storyline. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's just mention this if you don't mind talking about it. You
Mm,
are putting yourself out there as a kind of DIY Emmy campaign. You've submitted yourself for consideration. You're advocating for yourself and your work. Um, what inspired you to just launch this campaign for yourself?
Well, I'm just proud of the work. I feel that I just love Marilee. I just love what she ended up being. And genuinely, I just want people to see it, really. I just really want people to see my work. So that's what it was. And these campaigns are very expensive. And I don't know what people think character actors make, but I don't think it is what they think it is. Said me from my little rental in Van Nuys. So I just thought, what the hell? I'll just call people. I'll just get the emails of the people who do this, and I'll just write to them and say, hey, did you happen to see this show? And what do you think of my work? So that's really it.
Grassroots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, since I have you here, I can't help but mention that you had a pretty iconic early role with The Silence of the Lambs, which is now celebrating its 30th anniversary, if you can believe it. Obviously,
yeah, I can't.
Yeah. Well, what you go through in that film is pretty intense. But I'm wondering if you have either a favorite memory, or if you can just speak generally about whether you had a sense, even during the filming of that film, that this would become something truly special.
It's very easy to say that I had the feeling that it was going to be special now, but I really did. Maybe it was because it was my first, big part, or I'm not sure. I think it was really just the perfect combination and coming together of the script, the director, the actors, the DP, everybody really. And so, what I loved the most, I think, is just that Jonathan Demme was so great at making everyone feel like, he picked me and he thinks I'm the best for this job. And so, damn it, I'm going to do the best, every single person on the set. So, I recommend that technique.
Yeah.
Because why not do that? If I was like the head of a studio, I would hire all of the best people and let them do what they do and then take credit for it. So that's what I always remember about that job. I can't believe Ted came on to Big Sky.
I was going to mention that, like, what a coincidence that it's like ships in the night that he comes on the very next episode after you go out.
Exactly. I was thinking, I wonder if Marilee dated Horst in high school. Poor Marilee.
She would. She would.
Maybe she'll find someone in prison. What can I say?
There you go. Maybe there's some hope for her yet.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, you've been in so many things over the years. Vanya on 42nd Street was another early role for you. I mean, Grey's Anatomy, 6 Feet Under, Bates Motel, Bosch. You're also on the show Them, which came out this year. Is there a role that you find yourself just getting recognized for the most, or is it that thing where people are like, where do I know you from?
It's usually the thing of where do I know you from, which I like. I like that. It's more often than not, people think I'm a teacher in their kids' school. I'll take it. Teachers are cool. And for a long time when I was on Grey's Anatomy, if I ever had to be in any kind of hospital setting, people thought I was like a really mean doctor who had a lot of power. So that was useful for a little while. So I would say those two pretty much. Yeah.
Well, I guess in the spirit of advocating for your work, is there a role that you are just the most proud of in your career that you always look back on with a little more fondness than others, perhaps?
Well, you mentioned Vanya, and that really was special for me. But there's also a film called Series 7, The Contenders, which not everyone saw, which Dan Minahan wrote and directed. And he just finally did his Halston, which is on Netflix, which I just binged and I thought was fantastic. So I recommend that one because it's just a really cool movie. It's very independent, and I just really enjoyed it. It was tough, but kind of amazing. So I recommend Series 7, The Contenders.
Very good.
Yeah.
Are there future things that we can look to Brooke Smith for? Think something like that, or Or I'm also just curious with, actors who have been in the business for a while, what it is that attracts them to a project, just what they look for on the page, what their criteria is, if you have
Mm.
anything like that.
I love doing things that I think I can't do. So that's pretty, I don't know how to say it other than that. I just didn't get a part, which stinks. I thought I was getting it, but didn't get that one. And that one would have been because of the people. So oftentimes it's that, whether it's the writer or the director or the actor. But I'm kind of open to anything, and I like to push myself. So I like doing things that I think I can't do. So I'll put that out there too. Maybe the next one will be something like that.
Yes,
I'd never killed anyone with a hammer before, and that was kind of,
cross that off the bucket list, right?
I can cross that off the list. Don't have to do that one again. Better to do it in the work, not in real life,
True.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been really lucky though, really lucky. So.
Well, for those of you watching, subscribe for more Emmy season interviews and head to goldderby.com to make your Emmy predictions. Brooke, thank you so much for talking with me today. This is great.
Okay, thank you.